Hello, everyone, and welcome to the NJBIA Women Business Leaders Council meeting. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're just going to give everyone a few seconds to migrate in from the waiting room. As you make your way in, please mute yourself and switch your view from gallery to speaker. If you're not sure how to do that, the team will post some direction in the chat feature. Quick reminder that this program is being recorded and you are all muted for the duration. To kick things off, I'm going to pass it over to one of our council leaders, Lorena Mosquera, to say hello and give an official welcome.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Lorena Mosquera, and I'm the workflow strategist for Paradigm Marketing and Design, and I am one of the council leaders of NJBIA's Women's Business Leaders Council. If you don't know what a workflow strategist is, by the way, don't feel bad. Nobody knows what I do, and it's really, I'm a data geek, so anything that has to do with processes and implementation of efficiencies using technology to enhance human behavior, that's where you can come out and reach out to me, and I'd be more than happy to tell you a little bit more about it. As part of the co-chair, there's a bunch of us here, but as part of being one of the co-chairs for this program, we are so glad you can make it to this month's Women's Business Leaders Council meeting. Just a quick reminder that we are recording this program. A big shout out to my co-chairs, Bertia Chambers, she's the founder and CEO of Epic Transformation. Sally Jo O'Brien, she's the director of coaching of the Human Emergence Group. And Stephanie Staub, who is the director of infrastructure and energy strategy and workforce partnership at New Jersey Community Colleges. Her title is one of the biggest ones there. I'd also like to thank our sustaining partner, NJ Manufacturers Insurance Group, our business roundtable partners, CGI, and New Jersey Community Colleges Consortium. Our presenting partner, PSENG, our platinum partner, Prime Point HRMS and Payroll. And lastly, our event partners, Association Members Trust, Focus NJ, and New Jersey Business Magazine. We're going to incorporate some networking into this meeting as well. So make sure you take advantage of that just a little bit later. And now I'm going to toss the baton back over to NJBIA.
Thank you. We at NJBIA are thrilled that this group continues to grow and thrive under the leadership of such amazing women. For those of you who are new to NJBIA, we are the largest statewide business association in the country, representing approximately 1 million jobs in the state of New Jersey, which amounts to about 1/4 of New Jersey's workforce. We offer customer development opportunities, visibility through events, magazine ads, or our podcast and TV shows, and money-saving discounts on stuff you're probably already paying for, like payroll, healthcare, a 401k solution, and HR support. If you're interested in more info on us, I'll drop the website into the chat along with my contact info. Feel free to be in touch and we can get you whatever you need. And just as an FYI, we have created the Women Business Leaders Council group on LinkedIn. I'll drop a link for that in the chat as well. And hopefully that'll be a place where we can continue to learn and network and grow. And one final FYI, we are officially launched and ready to go with this fall's New Jersey Women Business Leaders Forum. It's going to be at the Newark Airport Marriott, so back in Newark, Jersey this year. I will put the link for that into the chat as well, and we are so excited to be filling those speaker slots as we speak. I am Kate Conroy, and that's all for me, and now I will toss it back to the fabulous Lorena Mosquera.
Thank you so much. And now it is my pleasure to introduce you to Donna Miller, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Donna is the Chief Visionary Officer at C3 Workplace and founder of Donna Miller Business Growth Consulting. She is a business and community leader, a speaker, an educator, an entrepreneur who is passionate about seeing professionals thrive. Over the last 25 years, Donna and her team have helped to start and grow well over 2,000 companies, creating thousands of jobs and millions, maybe billions in revenue. C3 Workplace provides an on-demand office space, virtual assistants, bookkeeping, and business growth consulting. She believes companies should be a force for good and models that for others, teaching them that the profits drive possibility. She believes in the power of collaboration and teaches others how to harness that power because a rising tide lifts all boats. Donna speaks regularly on topics that help businesses and professionals to thrive. She's engaging, fun, informative, inspirational, and always makes sure she walks away with the audience giving them value. And that means action steps. She facilitates panels and speaks regularly at major events across the country. And I am honored to call her my friend, Donna Miller. The floor is yours.
Wow. Wow. Thank you, Lorena. And thank you, everyone, for joining us here today. I am going to share my screen. Are you all seeing my Power of Influence slide? Yes. Okay, great. So I am delighted. Let me just get my screen squared away. You know, I don't know how many of you do these things regularly, but it's always interesting to, okay, get this where you want it. All right, there we go. All right. So power of influence, delighted to be here. You know, very often when I am asked to speak, and as a business growth consultant, it's about growing your business, right? How do you get more business? And influence is certainly one of the ways you can do that. But before we get started, I have a little bit of a spoiler alert for you. Clients buy, you cannot sell. What? I know, it's crazy, right? But we're going to talk about it. So whenever I speak, I always want to make sure I do the best job I can of meeting your expectations. So first of all, I'm going to monitor the chat window as best I can. And I'm okay at this. I'm not perfect, but I'm okay. Two things. Danielle, can you drop into the chat window? I have a companion actually workshop and workbook. So Danielle will drop a link to a fillable PDF that you can use throughout this program and beyond this program, because as Lorena said, I'm about action. So first of all, throw a 1 in the chat window if you've seen me speak before. Throw me a 1 in the chat window. And then after that, what I want to hear from you in the chat window is when you signed up for this webinar on the power of influence, what is it that you're hoping I will cover? Okay, so I have a presentation, but I'm pretty good at modifying it on the fly. So go ahead and put in the chat window what you're hoping I'm going to cover. Come on, I see a whole bunch of you ladies. I need you to be interactive. This is your time, so let's make the most of it. What is it you're hoping I will talk about today? All right, let's get started with a little game I like to call Name That Brand. Okay. Richard Branson, Virgin Atlantic, right? He's the face of the brand. And what I want you to know is no matter what your role is, you have a personal brand. And that's one of the things we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about personal branding. We're going to talk about storytelling, and we're going to talk about confidence and how all of that leads to influence. So Richard Branson, he emulates the brand. He's a fun guy. He's an adventurous guy. He makes you want to travel, right? So he is the face of his brand. Whoops, wrong way. Then we have Martha Stewart. And by the way, have you seen, she's going to be on the cover of Sports Illustrated, like holy cramoly. So Martha Stewart, I love her brand. Creative, crafty. She's just the other side of perfection that you're always trying to reach for, but you can't quietly get. And she has an amazing brand. Her brand is so strong that, I don't know if you all remember this, but it survived her prison stint. That is a really strong brand, right? And then we need a new word, Oprah. Oh my God, she is the mother of all personal brands. And yet, isn't it amazing she's got like more reach maybe than anybody in the world, but yet doesn't she come across as down to earth, relatable, somebody you could sit down and have coffee with? That's personal branding. And not only that, but she does what I believe to be really important is she's raised other people up. How many dozens and dozens of people has she launched? You know, back to Dr. Phil and Rachel Ray and Nate Berkus, and it goes, look at Gail. I mean, she's her best friend and she now has an amazing career. So these are amazing brands. And then there's me. Okay, I'm not quite a household name, but I've got ambition, so give me time. As Lorena told you a little bit about, Lorena, I'm coming up on 30 years. For the last 30 years, we've helped thousands of companies by providing business advisory and support services around biz dev, marketing, finance, and operations. And I believe that even though each of us, we all probably do something different, Lorena and I overlap a little bit, and I'm sure lots of us overlap a little bit, but the truth is, we are all in the business of providing solutions. I do not believe we're salespeople. I don't believe we sell. I believe we provide solutions, and when we're able to do that, it is a win-win. And here's something else I know for sure. If you stand for nothing, you will fall for everything. I know it's simple words, and I often think that a lot of what I talk about, I'm no rocket scientist. I don't know anything that you don't know. It's really in combining it and applying it in the action. So your personal brand is rooted in what you stand for. Simon Sinek says people do business with why you do what you do more so than what you do. This becomes even more important in this incredibly crowded marketplace. I mean, content is just off the charts. And now, we've got this whole AI thing. Who knows where it's all going to go? Here's what I also know for sure. Doing more will not produce better results. Getting very clear on what you stand for is how you can attract valued people. And those are amazing connections, and that will accelerate your influence. So action item number 1. Kate, if you could put this in the chat window for me. Action item number 1. What are your top 3 values? Get clear on what you stand for. You might be able to see mine back here. My values are faith, impact, and joy. And as Loretta said early on, how I live that out loud is I do believe companies should be a force for good, and we are. I believe profit drives possibility. Ladies, charge what you're worth. Whole other webinar. And I believe we're meant to raise up leaders, not just our children, but everyone around us. And I believe no matter what your position, you can lead and raise up people from where you are. I rebranded my company about 9 years ago. I opened as Above and Beyond. Not bad, but, didn't really say what we did. And then I rebranded to C3, which is Connect, Collaborate, Community. Turns out that was our secret sauce. In the 9 years since I have rebranded, I have had substantially more growth than the 21 years before. So everything I talk about, everything I teach on is what I've actually done. I've done it for myself, and I've done it for, like I said, it's like thousands of companies at this point. So here's the truth. You are your brand. I don't care who you work for. I don't care if you work for yourself, if you work for a Fortune 100 or 50 company, good, bad, or indifferent, you are your brand. And again, remember, you can't sell to your clients. They have to buy from you. So these buyers are very informed. With the internet, by the time they come to you, they are, 3/4 of the way through their purchasing decision. They believe they are informed. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. So you have to find your way to stand out. Your brand gets you into the room and into the conversation. Now, if we can't sell, what is a smart, successful gal like you or me to do? Great question. Our job is to accelerate the buying process. So prospects buy for their reasons, not yours. You have to figure out what's in it for them. That's number 1. You have to have a behavior plan. And if you're in the workbook, you'll see there's lots about behavior in there. You have to create a behavior plan that helps you to focus on the 20% that will drive 80% of your business. My landscapers are here. Can you hear that? Good. Okay, good. So you will have to do the behavior to become an influencer. You need to build centers of influence, and you need to drive referrals. You want to create a magnetic pull so that you're not constantly pushing. You need to, may I say, own the room, the virtual room or the in-person room. And of course, your next question is, how? Anybody asking how? Throw me a 1 in that chat window. Who's asking how? I am. Okay. Confidence. Confidence, confidence, confidence. Confidence is your secret sauce. When I Googled how to build confidence, 351 million responses. Look for books on how to build confidence on Amazon, over 40,000 books. It's an elusive thing. And I often say, I don't know if any of you had this, but there was a gal in my high school, not particularly good looking, not particularly smart, not particularly athletic, but she could have any, she was into guys. She could have any guy she wanted. And it always baffled me. And you know what it was? It was confidence. She was confident in her own skin, which in high school is a big standout. And I'm telling you, it's a big standout now. So, you know, Oprah says you get in life what you have the courage to ask for, ask. And I believe, and my story is about a lot of challenges, which I won't go into today, but I believe challenges build character. I believe you push through, and I believe at the end of the day, you show up and you do the behavior. It's how you build influence. It's how you build respect. And it's magnetic, it's influential, it opens doors, and ultimately it does close deals. So ladies, I have a question for you. On a scale of 0 to 5, 0 means I have none, 5 means I could stand and present naked. I'm not even a 5. Tell me in the chat window, what is your confidence level? Let's see how we are. Oh, we've got a 3. 3's good. All right, put it in there so I can get a gauge of where you're at. We've got a 4. I love it. Yay. Oh, we've got a lot of 4s. Ladies, you're leading me. Oh, yes. That's great. 3.5. And then there are the analytical numerical people. Thank you so much. All right. So I know it's easier said than done, but here's what I believe. I really, truly believe confidence is a practice. We're born rock stars. You might have seen that video of the little girl on the bathroom cabinet talking to herself in the mirror, and she's saying how wonderful she is and what a rock star she is. And the truth is, I think we're all born that way. And then life kind of kicks us in the ass and things happen and we have to work to become rock stars again. So let me tell you a little bit about my story. And you may relate to some of this. I come from a middle-class blue-collar family, 5 kids. My dad worked sporadically. My mom had to juggle and stretch every dollar. A college education was not only offered or funded in my house, it was not even discussed. So when I graduated from high school, I went to work as a secretary. It's the skill I had. But God had greater plans for me. I had some deep-rooted ambition, and some God-given talent. I did well. In fact, I did better than most of my college graduate peers. When I opened my business almost 30 years ago, failure simply wasn't an option, but I certainly still had way more than my fair share of insecurities. Who was I to open a company equipped with only a high school degree? But it turns out, who wasn't I? And here's the point of this. Those insecurities laid the foundation for my creation of a practice to build my confidence. You could see all these things on this slide, and I'll talk about a couple of them. You have to figure out what works for you. You have to try. First of all, I believe confidence is rooted in competence. You cannot BS your way into being a thought leader. So I am a student for life. I constantly read. I may have a high school degree, but at this point I have an MBA in a self-made successful business, which by the way, runs without me, which is kind of a beautiful thing. I start my day in prayer, gratitude, and meditation. I set my positive intentions for the day. I start with gratitude, I have an intention, and I have a goal. It's my gig. Every day I have a gig. So that's how I start my day. I really use affirmations. Give me a 1. Anybody uses affirmations? I believe in the power of affirmations. I'm in the process of writing a book. I have a book coach, and I have 33 journals that I've written over the last 20 or so years. And I'm going back through those journals, and I can see the evolution of myself, and I can see the power of affirmations in that process. Awesome, Jane. So I recommend you explore affirmations. And, part of a confidence practice is taking care of yourself, getting exercise or movement, staying hydrated. And the other thing that I really believe is a big part of your confidence practice is building a tribe that lifts you up and, wait for it, tells you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. As women, we want to help each other, but the truth is you're not doing anyone a favor. You're not doing your friend a favor if you're only telling them what they need, what they want to hear. So I believe as women, we have a couple of superpowers, and one of them is part of my confidence practice. I call it FIO. It's the ability to figure it out. We are natural experts at this. They hand us babies, and most of the time we don't terribly muck it up, but we don't know what we're doing. And our ability to figure things out gives us confidence, because having been at this for about 30 years now, I have figured it out so many times that it's a muscle that is really strong. And that brings me a ton of confidence, because when I face the unknown, which can be very anxiety producing, I know I can figure it out. I'll often have a client say to me, well, have you ever done this before? And I'll say, well, in 30 years, we've done many varieties of it. Have I done this specific thing? No, but I could tell you this, we do new every single day. And I'll bet you do too. So don't underplay that. So action item number 2, what will your confidence practice look like? And when we get to networking later, we're going to ask you what you're going to put into action. So think about that as we go through this presentation. So I am a formerly incredibly insecure person who stands before you now with confidence that I worked for. I created this confidence, and so can you. Your confidence and authenticity is the foundation for your compelling story. You've probably all heard this before, but people will not remember what you said or did. They will remember how you make them feel. The majority of business owners and professionals that come to me, and maybe this is the case with you too, the majority of my prospects that come to me, they're in some sort of pain. You're not coming to a business growth specialist because you're crushing it. You're coming to me because something's not working the way you think it should. I can only help someone if I make them feel safe in that space. That is sacred space. This is where your story is born. It's your legacy. It's how you change the world. So I do believe that your story is your path to influence, and I believe that you are going to have to cultivate that story. You have to invest time. It is also, I believe, part of that 20%. Remember, I talked about doing 20% that drives 80% of the business forward. You want to have a compelling story. You want to keep it short. You want to make it linear. You want to use visuals when you can. That's why we're using these slides, because you're processing that information much faster than my words. And so spend time creating your library of stories. Listen, practice them, videotape them. Every time I go to a networking event, even all these years later, confession, I'm not comfortable networking. I'd rather do this. So every time I'm on my way to a networking event, I practice what I'm going to say in the car. Part of your next right thing will always be to work on your business, not in it. And this is part of it. So let me tell you a little bit more about my story as an example. So I mentioned opening the business and my first job. I was at that first job for quite a few years. And then for a number of reasons, including my mom passing away, I was only 23. I wanted to change. I went to work for a shared office facility. I was familiar with the concept, even though it was brand new in the area. I had an absent owner. I had a small base salary and a nice chunk of the profits. Loved that autonomy. And I had a handshake deal, lesson learned, that he would sell me the business. I offered probably 50% over market value. He refused, and something happened, which has happened many times in my life. My greatest disappointment became an even greater blessing. So I wrote a business plan, raised $100,000, and opened 1.2 miles from where he used to be located. I did everything. Even though I had a partner and employee, it got harder, not easier. I became, as those of you who have heard me speak, I probably say this every time, I became the world's best micromanager. There was no situation I couldn't make worse. So I was at a crossroad. I can let go and give in, or I can begin the work to become a true leader. And I might have mentioned at the beginning, failure's never been an option for me. I'm not a quitter. So I got a lot of outside help, and I began the process of building a company that would fund the life of my dreams and allow me to have an impact. And the beautiful thing, remember I talked about creating a values-driven company and you end up doing business with the same values-driven people, most of my clients strive for the same thing. This sacred space is something we're both comfortable in. And, you know, how lucky am I that I get to help people through what I painfully went through. And the truth is that's authentic, it's compelling, it's real, it connects. So action item number 3, somebody throw it in the chat for me. Build your library of stories. Remember, this might be dated. I'm going to see if anybody knows the answer. How do you get to Carnegie Hall? Practice, practice, practice. Exactly. Okay. So we talked about what to do. Now I want to tell you what not to do. Oh, please do not be this person. Ditch the pitch. Do not go to a networking event to sell. Go to a networking event to connect and see how you can help other people. Be a go-giver, by the way, great book. And being a go-giver is the foundation for influence. Why? Great question. Because in order to produce better results, you need to combine storytelling with confidence. That leads to influence. And that is your path to dun, 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 more money. I mean, the truth is money drives possibility. I mean, I'm not one of those, people that strive for the sake of striving. I want more money because I want to create profit, because I want to give back to the world, because I can do nothing about so much that is, sorry, NJBIA, I'm going to say it. I can do nothing about so much of our world that is a complete shit show, but I can show up and contribute and help someone to be more successful, and so can you. Remember, Maya Angelou said, people will remember how you make them feel. Your networking is about identifying not necessarily your prospects, but your centers of influence. So when I work with clients, we get clear on who their target market is. Demographics, psychographics, events that drive a need for your services. But then let's take it up a notch, ladies, and let's work on centers of influence. Who's running that event? Who's speaking at that event? Who's sponsoring that event? Show up early. That's how you get to meet the influencers. So be strategic about your networking virtually and in person and on LinkedIn. What I know for sure is just like you need to build your influence, you need to connect with other influencers. I really believe this is your number one. Why? So now it's time for you to answer a question. Why do you think, and I want to hear from, I don't know how many people are here, but I want you all to type into the chat window, why do you think building your influence is important? Come on, you took an hour of your day to come listen to my spiel, and apparently many of you have already heard my spiel, so you're here again. So why do you need to build your influence? What is the power of influence? I could sing Jeopardy music while you put your answers in. Dee, 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 dee. Anybody watching Jeopardy Masters? Great show. Anyway, to touch as many lives as possible. Absolutely, totally agree with that. I've heard many different things about influence. To get more speaking gigs, build a coalition to make changes in public policy. That's a lovely goal. I love that, Raina. That's great. For those of us who are looking to grow our business or our practice, I can tell you that in my opinion, and it's only ever my opinion, the number one reason you want to build your influence is because influence drives referrals. Referrals have a much higher close ratio. Statistics say 2 to 7 times % higher. That's working smarter, not harder. Remember I said working harder won't do it? It really won't. You need to work smarter. For me, I know referrals have about a 90% close ratio. When I get a lead via my webpage, I'm lucky if I have a 20% close ratio. So driving referrals. Referrals drive your business forward, period. There's no doubt about it. But in addition to that, having more influence means that you can accelerate the trust process. It means people actually take your calls. It means people say yes when you ask them to collaborate. It means your tribe is talking about you, and I'm not supposed to say tribe anymore, your group of fabulous people who tell you what you need to hear is talking about you and driving referrals. You're creating raving fans. Influence means better results, period. Here's the thing I love the most about influence. Influence has you in the room before you arrive and has you part of the conversation when you are not there. It is your personal brand at work. So when we talk about working smarter, not harder, this is 100% true. And it's how I've built both my C3 business and my business growth consulting is you show up as a go-giver, you give of what you have. So how do we build our influence? Guess what? I really, truly believe that influence is a practice as well. So your influence, again, is rooted in how you make people feel. Look at that confidence practice and what are you going to do in your confidence practice? Some of that you're going to pull into your influence practice. I said that I believe confidence is rooted in competence. It absolutely is. You know, when you're prepared, you feel confident. Well, you should share some of that confidence. That's what I'm doing here. Learn together, teach together. Content marketing is a great way, and you might want to do that in collaboration or in curation because it's very crowded. Be a servant leader. Give exceptional value, and you will enjoy extraordinary results. Volunteer, lead, speak. In my opinion, you should find a couple of groups you like and go deep. Do not do surface level work, go deep. Your best opportunity in an organization is when you volunteer, you get to showcase your values and your competence. It's an amazing thing. So, Kate, I know you have lots of volunteers and many of us volunteer in lots of organizations. It's good for us, but it's good for our business too. So also, as far as building influence, be a connector, live it, breathe it, be a go-to resource. I love it when I get a call from a client, and this happens regularly. You know, Donna, I don't know if you do this, but I know you'll know someone. That's when I know I'm doing my job. That's when I know I've built my influence. And what's the number one way to get referrals? For the love of everything logical, give them. Give referrals. People remember how you make them feel. Trust me, when you give somebody a referral, it makes them feel very good and they will remember you. And again, build that group of people. That is a definite influence practice. Build that group of people. Find the right table. And if you can't find the right table, build it. And if you don't know how to build it, I will get on a call with you and help you to figure that one out. So building your influence practice will catapult your personal brand, which will also lead to the ability to learn to, this is something that's hard for women, say no. You know, you'll get to a point where you'll have to say no to things. And Warren Buffett says, the difference between extraordinarily successful people and successful people is that extraordinarily successful people say no to almost everything. I can't say I'm there, but I'm close. So, and I believe the number one way to build and accelerate your influence and to grow your business or your reach or your ability to make changes in public policy is collaboration, baby. At the end of the day, it's about driving relationships. And for each of us, that means figuring out who our centers of influence are. This, I believe, is the second. The first superpower for us as women is figuring it out. The second, I believe we are phenomenal collaborators. It is your superpower. Use it to build your centers of influence. Make sure those centers of influence that you work with and those partners are trying to accomplish the same thing you are. And most importantly, make sure they share your values. I do not believe you can collaborate with someone who does not share your values. As women, you are uniquely wired to collaborate and to help each other. You know, Madeleine Albright had a great saying. She said, there's a special place in hell for women who don't help each other. Don't be that woman. But do it strategically. Anybody who's ever heard me speak, I'm sure I've probably said this too. If it's in your head, it's an idea. If you get it on paper, it's a plan. Plans happen. They're roadmaps. Start with the values. Are they aligned? What does my partner need to be? Or what do they need to bring to the table? Will they raise me up? Or will I be raising them up? Both are okay answers as long as you know what you're doing and what you're trying to accomplish. What am I bringing to the table? So what are they bringing to the table? What am I bringing to the table? And then most importantly, how does all of that create massive value for your shared target market? So your collaboration should be 1 + 1 = 10. There are so many ways to collaborate. My good friend Lorena said, hey, I'm doing this women's business leadership table. Can you come and speak? That was great. She's on my table. I'm in the room when I'm not even there. You can do events, you can do seminars, you can network, you can do social events, golf. There's a ton of things. But here's a really simple one. You know how we're back to doing one-to-ones? Don't do one-to-ones, do foursomes. Have your one-to-one and each of you bring someone. Now, again, you're working smarter and you're meeting with 4 people at once and you're bringing value to the other people. There's a gazillion simple ways that you can do this and work smarter. Build your personal brand, work on your story, your confidence, and your influence, because this is a long game strategy. And again, remember, I said you can't sell, they have to buy. So our job is to accelerate that buying power. And you do that with your personal brand and your influence. And I can tell you, without a doubt, influence also leads to more money. And before I wrap up and go to Q&A, how are we doing on time? Knowledge is not power. I say this all the time. It's on the front of your workbook cover. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. You have to play the long game. And I'm going to put this in the chat. I am happy to help. I'm putting my cell phone in the chat. If I can help, I am happy to do so. And wait, lastly, I mentioned that I'm a student for life. These are 4 books that have been, as a woman, instrumental to me. Glennon Doyle, Untamed, amazing. Matthew McConaughey, I thought he was an idiot. I now think he's batshit brilliant. Read Green Lights, it's amazing. A Tree Grows in Brooklyn is something I read as a child. And if that tree can grow between the cracks of the sidewalk, I can become anything. And Rachel Hollis, boy, she's got some story. So here's what I want to leave with you, and then we'll go to Q&A. And this is from Rachel Hollis's Girl, Stop Apologizing. Be the kind of woman you want to be, who's proud to be herself. Be the kind of woman who has so much love inside her that she won't be tempted to change anything about herself to get love from anyone. Be the kind of woman who laughs loudly and often. Check, I got that one. Be the kind of woman who is generous. No matter how much money is or isn't in your bank account, you have a wealth of resources to help other people. Be the kind of woman who spends a lifetime learning, because applied knowledge is power, and those who think they know it all are often the dumbest in the room. Be the kind of woman who understands she was made for more. Be the kind of woman whose own dreams make her nervous and then goes and does them anyway. I would love to help. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing and we can go to Q&A. Or Kate, I'll hand the program back to you.
Thank you so much. That was phenomenal. I mean, I always know when I'm going to hear you speak that it's going to be good. I'm always surprised at just how good. So thank you so much. I want to start Q&A with a question of my own. I think I remember the answer to this, but you used a word that is not super mainstream yet. You said demographics and psychographics. And so I just want to clarify for anybody who's like, what in the heck is psychographics?
Yep. Yeah. So think about a Venn diagram. You've got your demographics. I always refer to the demographics as kind of the who, what, where, when, why. Give me the facts, Jack. Then the psychographics, and this is in order of how I think they can create a need for your service. Demographics, then psychographics are hopes, dreams, fears, right? What's the pain? What's going on that's causing them to not hit their dream or have anxiety or, not produce the results they need. If you can find the overlap between demographics, psychographics, and then an event that drives a need for your services, that little overlap is where you're going to find the money. So for instance, I work with a couple of financial planners. So it could be, a simple example is 65 years old, wanting to retire, just got divorced. Oh my gosh, do they need a financial planner, right? So the psychographics are the hopes, dreams, and fears of your target market.
Thank you. That makes perfect sense. And I actually added to the chat, psychographics equal pain points, because if you're in sales, you know what pain points are, right?
Right. Exactly. And that's where, when you're in the sales process, that's where we spend all our time, is talking about that pain. And that's that sacred space that I was talking about, is when I'm working with a client, I'm never giving them advice. I'm always asking questions, because how I conduct myself during that process lets them know what it's going to be like to work with me. And it's funny, as a business growth consultant, and I do largely work with women, that's just kind of the way it goes. We're always talking about work and life, because we are just one woman. And, when I opened my company, my kids were 7 and 10, and I wanted to be a mom. And so, I've had this work-life harmony goal for a very long time. And I kind of unintentionally set out to build a company that would run on its own. And then about 10, 15 years in, I'm like, I think I can make this happen. And then I just kept going. So, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
I always go ahead.
Go ahead. Nope.
I've been in sales a very long time. And when I think about sales as a philosophy, I always say, just figure out what people want and then sell it to them. But that doesn't mean you're selling it to them. They have to want to buy from you. And in order to do that, you have to figure out what they want. What are the pain points? You have to listen. It all starts with listening, right?
Yeah. And I mean, that's, influence gets you in front of rooms of people who are, your target market. And who, again, I think it's, making a sale or coming up with a solution that you can monetize. In other words, a sale.
Yeah.
It's also about professional fulfillment and helping other people. And, as I said, I really think it's how we have an impact on the world.
Absolutely agree. I don't see any questions in the chat. Does anybody
want
to
have any questions? Oh my goodness, that's just too hard to believe.
Oh, Anne-Marie loves the term go giver. I was just talking about that on Instagram today. I totally agree. Does anybody want to unmute themselves and join the conversation? Don't be shy.
Go Giver. So this is the Go Giver book. I think it will take you possibly 3-4 hours to read it. And Kate and I interviewed Bob Berg in January on the NJBIA Business Growth Roundtable, which I do have the recording of if you need it. But I see a question here. Could you share any hurdles you had while building your company in that 9 years and how you managed to overcome them?
It's a great question.
We're talking about the most recent, the last 9 years. Yeah. Well, nobody builds a business without hurdles, right? I would say my hurdles were, I opened a second location. So in 1 year, I rebranded, I renovated my Montclair location completely, and I opened a second location in Sparta in partnership with my sister. What do you think the hardest part of all that was?
Coordinating.
Well, first was money. I hemorrhaged money big time for a little while, but working with family. And my sister and I are fine and everything's good, but working with family can be hard. So what I would say is the hurdles that I have come up against repeatedly are relationship, and I've gotten much better about, and this is why I said with strategic partners, have a written plan. What do they have to do? What do you have to do? What does success look like? And how do we know this is all working for us? So I think one hurdle is communication and having strategic plans. And they don't have to be fancy, but they have to be in writing. And second of all, I am very big on numbers, knowing your numbers. I did massive projections on, how I was going to come up with this money and what money was going to be produced. So I think the other thing that I always say to people is, if you don't know your numbers, you need to hire someone who can help you to know your numbers. Your accounting system tells you so much more about your business than most people get out of it. So, and then, it's the other thing that we all come up with is, you get burnt out, you get tired, you're working a really lot. So I've learned to manage my relationships better. I've learned the power of fiscal responsibility and knowledge. And I've learned the value of taking breaks. I cannot tell you how taking a break is the next right thing. So I see Pamela has her hand up.
Yep.
Hi, thank you very much. And I so appreciate this presentation. It has been wonderful.
Great.
I want to ask, and I'm asking this question without having the benefit of reading the book on Stop Apologizing. I'm hearing a lot about not apologizing over the last 6 months or so. And I guess what I really want to know is, are we saying when you know that you have wronged someone to not apologize? Or are we saying don't apologize for the dream, the success, the power, the partnerships? What are we really saying? Because people hear things differently sometimes than what you're really saying. And I just want to make sure, because I've seen people destroyed, literally destroyed, because they were defamed publicly, and they were never apologized to, whether it was publicly or privately. And you can suck the juice out of someone's excellence by not giving that apology. And so I just for clarity's sake for the room, what do we mean by not apologizing?
It's a great question.
Thanks so much.
It's a great question. And I'm going to answer it in a few parts. I think we should be unapologetic about our success, about taking time for ourselves, about self-care, about profit, about being, we're assertive and we get called aggressive. Just do what you want to do. But the truth is, absolutely, if I've made a mistake, I'm going to apologize. If I think maybe I made a mistake, I'm going to apologize. I do not believe the customer is always right, but I do believe the customer gets the benefit of the doubt. So that's where I will start. I had a situation, Pamela, at a large organization where someone was publicly bashing me because I got a deal that he wanted, that he didn't get. So I knew that's what it was about. But instead of doing a number of different things that I could do, I went to him and I said, I've heard this, this, and this. Is there something I should have done differently? Is there anything that I should have done differently that would make you feel like you wouldn't be saying those things about me? And it really completely diffused the situation, because most of the time when people are defaming you, what I have found is those people are bullies. And bullies are bullies right up until you take the wind out of their sails. So I will apologize more often than maybe is even necessary, but I will not apologize that I built a large company that runs without me, that, I get to travel, that, I get speaking opportunities, that, I have great curly hair. I don't know. I'm not apologize. So great question.
Yeah. I think I would only add, if I may, that when you take accountability for yourself, it only adds to your influence. If you have inadvertently or even on purpose hurt someone, apologizing gives you back your power. It makes you the most authentic person that you can be, I think.
Right. Agree. And that's that safe space. You're creating safe
Right.
space out of what could have been perceived as a negative situation. You're
Yeah.
turning negative into a positive. And that's part of my values: honesty, integrity.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that question, Pamela. Anybody else? We could go to networking early. Anybody else want to unmute and join the conversation or add a question to the chat? Everybody's shy today. Not everybody. Pamela was brave. Good for you, Pamela.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right.
Well, thank you so